Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bin and Binner podcast, where we talk with investors and startups and try to dig a little bit deeper and not just talk about the startup itself, but the people, background, and experience behind it. Today we have Safir Monroe from UnDelay. Safir, introduce yourself.
Well, hello. My name is Safir Monroe. I'm the CEO and founder of UnDelay, and we build AI for government and enterprises to automate a lot of old Excel operations, paper-based reports, and we are in 4 city-owned airports across the country and a shipping company. So, the world is really trying to figure out how to use AI to better optimize their operations, and we provide that software for a lot of huge enterprise and government entities.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you on with us. We have a little bit of a personal connection, been friends for a while. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get there. Safir's an awesome guy, and just jumping into it, talk more about UnDelay. What do you all do, and how did you get to where you are?
Yeah, for sure. So, we provide that web application for a lot of government operations. So we might provide our application for the finance department and the ground operations department to really help communications between multiple systems. So I used to work as a software engineer for Delta Airlines. And while working at Delta, obviously I saw a bunch of problems that the industry had. You're sure you're familiar with the CrowdStrike blackout and systems across aviation, the private and public sector, for city governments and federal governments that, a lot of systems are really just old and outdated. So a lot of people came to me with their different ideas and came to me saying like, hey, how can you solve different problems within the industry? And I figured like, hey, why not start a company, a startup that can really help fix these problems? And just with that, UnDelay was created.
I'm curious. Tell me about what got you started. What made you decide to make that jump? And I know for a while when you were first starting, you started in 2018, you were working for Delta still, and you worked for NCR for a while you were building it as well. So talk about what it was like building while working full time, and also what made you decide it was time to fully make that jump.
Fully big jump for sure. I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur. Just ever since a kid, I used to like sell candy, used to sell pictures. So I always been an entrepreneur. So in my head, I was always building different like apps in like college to like sell. But what really maybe made the jump was, our first customer, first couple of investors were kind of like after that COVID era, to where like, hey, let me jump and like do this for a couple of years because we finally have traction. So I was working nights and weekends, and when I was at Delta, the airport itself used to throw a lot of different hackathons, right? So I didn't have any like set idea for what I wanted to do. But essentially, because there was so many like different hackathons, and then people were always asking about solving problems in the industry, the goal for us was to build a bunch of different solutions that will probably stick. At the time, we're building different things for hackathon for like the Wi-Fi model for Atlanta Airport. And one of our first clients, within the startup ecosystem was a client out of Spain. And we were doing flight delay predictions using early regression models. So now a lot of models you see are mostly like LLMs, and those are like the most advanced models on the market. But at the time, we were using a lot of like the other side of classification, which was regressions for like number predictions to build flight delays. But as we were going through, and I was still working full time because we were testing out the models and saying, hey, it's not working. And it's not working because like anyone that's worked in the industry, you know that there's so many like real-time inputs that have to deal with different flight delays. So just creating, like analyzing a lot of past data and then like predicting flight delay doesn't work because there's a lot of real-time inputs that you're not getting. Outside of just weather, it's really just like employee scheduling, engine issues, plane failures, air traffic control, miscommunication. All that needs to be data input in real time to make a decision. And without that, you can't run the model. So the tone just wasn't there, but the heart was in the right place.
When you started building this, you come from a background of a variety of things, and I know that you did some filmmaking as well, which we'll talk about in a minute because that's really cool. Did you come into this and go to Delta with this passion for aviation, or did you kind of start working for Delta because it's a job and then find out this was a problem and go, this is a huge opportunity for me to fix something?
Yeah, no, I really went to Delta because I had 2 job offers coming out of college, and one job offer didn't have free flights. So, so like, hey, they were like, sometimes a part of me wanted to stay in DC because I really like DC, but they were just like, hey, if you work at Delta, you could just fly to DC for free, and I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So I went into it. But I mean, Delta is a great company. They have a very innovative mindset. Being there, I remember like the CMO used to memorize everyone's names, like memorize like 1,000 people's names. I'm like, bro, like they have a very like great way of like just reeling you in. About like aviation in general, I used to sit, under a tree, like outside. I tell people the story to where, you know, it's my first time in Georgia. So like, going to some buildings, the air conditioning is so cold that it blasts you. So I'm like, I need sometimes to step out the sun to balance out, right? But when I used to step outside, like there would just be this tree that I would just like sit under sometimes to watch the planes fly over. So it was a beautiful setting, just to cool down in between work. But just in that, just think about ideas to, optimize. And Delta was my first experience in corporate, so it was important just to understand those problems in ecosystem. And Delta is good because what's important about the ecosystem is that you could be working on the ramp and then go to corporate, or you can be a flight attendant and then be like a manager. So they have a great way of circulating people throughout corporates where you can learn a little bit from everybody. Yeah. So I was able to learn real-time operations while just sitting at a desk, which is important just for understanding the entire ecosystem.
How much of that do you think went into your business over at Delta?
I'd say because we focus on airports and not airlines, operationally, probably none of it. Yeah. But like, just because the airport cares about different things that airlines care about. The airports are government and airlines are, the private sector. I'd say, but overall, I think just understanding business-wise of how the industry works, the politics around it. I think what was important for me at work at Delta is to understand politics, corporate politics, government politics, and how they all come together. Because it's such a regulated industry, you understand that as a whole, and you're able to operate. So I think the way we're able to, get 4 clients from the airport industry is very difficult, especially as being as a young company. And Ben knows we're surrounded by a bunch of young companies. So, I think that if I didn't understand politics from working at Delta, then I wouldn't be able to close the contracts that we've been able to get.
How big is your company? So you've got 4 major clients now. You've got a few more on the way. What does your team look like? How have you gotten there? What's next for building this?
Yeah, Stool's pretty small. Still pretty small. We've got like 3 people that are like very very hungry, and we've kept it small. Like even after like expanding and stuff that we kind of understood the market, technology, and also the sales cycle, the procurement process, and just understanding finances around everything. We decided to stay small, right? And then once we make that jump, or like 2 other clients, then we'll pick up the velocity in hiring. Yeah. But it made sense to stay very, very small just because fees that are happening with like AI, server costs, expansion costs, conference costs. So we stayed relatively small now, but we'll see. Like hopefully the next 3 or 4 months, I have some good news to share.
You are building with a small team. AI has been able to help you do that. But you've been building since 2018 when AI was a lot more resource intensive and a lot less common and a lot worse, realistically, in its capabilities. How has your use of AI systems changed, and what have the resources and costs changes been during that time frame?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say the earlier side of what we're trying to do, a lot of AI, it didn't really match the data processing from accuracy perspective. And obviously it was a lot more expensive to generate LLMs as time progressed. So when GPT thing, 3.5 came out and we were experimenting different models, it's like, yeah, we believe this intelligence is very powerful. But let's say if I use it myself, I'll be rate limited or cut off, or what is the accuracy? Like I can't deploy these models within an airport model or application just because like who's liable for like that decision is wrong. Even now today, LLMs are very powerful. And the cost, because of like a lot of open weight models that are produced out of China, like Quinn or Kimi, they're very, very powerful. We're trying to implement them now. The cost is down, but the key is to say, how can we have the middleman be more efficient versus having AI just take over in general, just from a liability perspective. And because it's so government regulated, the room for error is just so minimum to where there's certain things you can and can't just launch fully autonomously.
Now, the magic word being AI, you mentioned, have you developed your own AI system or model from an existing model, or is yours from the shop?
Oh yeah, really? No, we are pulled directly from like the internet type. Like when Llama just announced their models, we pulled a lot of instruct models, and it took forever to download. It was airing out, but we've always just pulled the regular system and scrapped past immediately because technology and the intelligence has just outpaced so far. So in the beginning, we were building like a lot of custom models that you saw. maybe post-COVID, everyone's building out custom models, and that was the thing. But now people building off the shelf. So the goal for our system is to build a better way for different advanced models to connect and be more efficient. And then as more powerful models come, scrap the last model. If you're familiar with Crew AI, it was produced by a founder in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Very, very powerful framework. A lot of agents, you have to say like, okay, if I am a trader, I know this information, I want this output, so 3-step process. But I feel like now the Chinese models are saying, hey, they don't need those pre-prompts. I can just like give you a response very, very quickly. So therefore the architecture changes. So we want to be an architecture company to improve the processes and like pull the models directly.
Do you have any concerns with using like a foreign model or anything like a Chinese model when it comes to like your proprietary property, IP, things like that?
No, because they're open weight. So I tell people this. So let's say if I were to download it straight from the internet and I cut the internet off, I could still utilize that model, right? I don't have to connect it directly to a Chinese server to optimize utilize that model. Or let's say if I'm a huge company and I want to pull in the latest Kimi model and then like use it as an internal tool from what we have and use long-term memory based from our databases in general, then I'm not restricted to that security breach, right? But there are certain models that can keep internal with my AWS infrastructure, Google Cloud infrastructure, or personal company server if I want it like super secure. But the Chinese models allow us to do that versus a lot of the models that you see that you might want OpenAI or Claude or Anthropic to process what you're doing, and they're very powerful for what they do. But if I want internal processes, I can use open weight models and it'll be secure.
As you build more and use existing AI platforms to build infrastructure, a lot of people say that we're in an AI bubble. And if that is true, and if it pops, then we would see a number of AI companies go under. Are you building redundancies to have backups in case some of the models or companies you're working with do go under or get affected? Is that something you're even thinking about right now? Or do you think that bubble talk is nothing and that there isn't really anything there?
It is important in terms of like cost in the market, but in terms of a company, I would say if you build your product, and I'll reiterate what Sam Altman kind of said, if you build a product around betting AI is going to get increasingly better, and as AI gets better, your product gets better, then you'll be fine, right? But if you're building like different wraparounds, or you're building and say, hey, my model is superior than like the other models, then you're going to get outpaced. Right. So what we do is we don't try to like say like, hey, we're going in a direction to build more accurate models themselves. We're building a direction to where if every model I take off the shelf and implement through our system, it makes our entire system better. So therefore, I'm not competing in the race. And even if the bubble pops and like from a financial perspective, I'll still have the open weight models. And China will always push down. So the bubble popping is more for financial, like on their side, but as a small company, if the open weight models reach a certain intelligence or a level of intelligence that like we can do anything with them, us as a company will always be there just because it helps. Now, financially, will it affect like other server costs, like AWS or Google, or people that put a lot of money into this, right? I think Google, spend billions on Anthropic and stuff. So, to get that money back, will they charge the other companies like server costs? I don't know.
That's been an interesting thing to watch, is watching real heavyweights like Google go out and raise venture capital, like private capital. I'm sure you've been following it closely, given that you're building in that ecosystem.
For sure. Because make sure I follow the pages of like all the tier one VC, like Lightspeed, Google, Ventures, A6Z, because you have to understand like what they're investing in, like what the market is moving towards. And as a founder, you say either I'm moving with the market or against it. There's both ways you can really succeed. Your customers are going to tell you like where to go and how you can maneuver.
Oh yeah.
So for us, we're going with the market. I'm going the same direction, right? And I think everyone's really clear. Like even though like a lot of AI agents struggle within production, outside of like maybe like scanning for like robotics and stuff like that, and from the enterprise perspective, a lot of AI agents haven't been doing what they need to do. But realistically, and we've all like we have our experience within corporate, the data isn't structured in right ways, and the long-term memory of how you integrate or call APIs aren't structured the best way. So if you have better structure, better application, better infrastructure, could you build more accuracy in AI models? And that's kind of what we do.
How do you actually go about training those models? What goes into it?
Oh, we do not fine tune. So we use like MCP structures.
Oh, I got you.
No, fine tune is expensive. No,
Just a massive amount of data collection.
Yeah, because the goal for like a lot of MCP, especially now, like you have like Figma that connects to a lot of MCP service through Anthropic, but for us, it's really just building out that agentic architecture, which can be constantly replaced to be able to say like, hey, let's say if I work for an external enterprise, you have your data and I have parts of your data and also have new data that's developed from like a pattern of people using more application that connects to both data sources. So how can I orchestrate, organize those different data sets to be able to pull the model in an accurate way to give you good feedback? So us is more like a back end, front end architecture perspective versus like fine tuning models.
Got you.
Yeah.
You're still in build mode, but you have some customers. You've got a 3-man team. So when you think about the spread on the team, are they all in devs? Do you have like a mix of dev and sales or operation? What does that mix look like now? And for your next couple of hires, what does that look like?
Yeah, well, I would like to tell people we're Swiss Army knives, right?
Yeah.
Like for a startup, I mean, obviously, as the CEO, I'm the lead sales guy, but I'm also very heavy in development work, and we have 2 other people who like kind of switch from sales or more technical operations, right, or just more like customer support. So we switch kind of like in that perspective. So I wouldn't classify anybody as just doing one thing, just because we need different things at different times.
Still in like early team build mode. Like
Yeah.
everyone's doing everything.
Everyone's doing everything. I feel like my first 5 hires, I would tell them like, hey, as a startup, if they don't already are familiar outside the industry, like just because you're doing job A does not mean you will be doing job B or C tomorrow. Because we're always a sort of like influx, because the market changes so like much from AI that the market is moving a lot faster than it was before the LLM like model era. So your team has to be much more agile than it was before, especially around utilizing AI, understanding AI, and implementing AI, as well as being that customer support for customers who don't understand AI.
Taking it all the way back, you do some film stuff or have, which is super cool. Is that something that you're still building on? And is it something that you are interested in continuing to pursue personally while you build right now? And
Yeah, I love film. I love making stuff. I love like videos, obviously podcasts. I love talking stuff. I do. It's more like the ability to bring people together is like the hardest thing in film, because people don't get things done because it's hard to bring people together. But I feel like I'm good as a people person. I think I'm always gonna like build like or direct or like make movies. I think I like art. I like how AI is just automating a lot of editing and information. Still on it. Still like trying to push out the second one. But I think. Yeah, for me, I just like film festivals. It's always been I think like Mr. Wonderful said it best. Every entrepreneur needs a creative out. He's like, if they don't have, they're doing anything creative, I don't trust them. I won't invest. That's what he says. But every entrepreneur needs an out. If I'm coding for like 12 hours for like 5 days straight, I need a day of just film and like graphics and like coloring. I do paint sometimes.
oh, really?
Yeah. I have like there's like just like maybe abstract painting, but
Wow,
I have
that's
this one. Yeah, I have this one paintbrush I've had since I think like middle school. Man, they don't even make the paintbrush anymore. It's like out of circulation.
What's special about it? What makes it unique?
It has a certain brand. I don't know if it's legal anymore, but it has like certain like brand of like horsehair. I don't know if they still take horsehair. I don't know, but
I think that's still like a normal thing.
Okay, I don't know if I'll condone it.
I think violin bows are made out of horsehair. It has to be
Okay.
normal.
Okay. I was making sure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's it's made out of like a certain horsehair to where it's like so smooth. Like
Yeah.
the stroke. Like I haven't ever like encountered a paintbrush like it. I forgot the exact name of the brand because I've had it for so long, but the stroke is amazing. So I use that paintbrush a lot. Yeah.
At face value, you might not think that filmmaking would carry over any kind of concepts into what you do, but do you feel like the philosophy of filmmaking and how you use it has carried over into what you're doing over at UnDelay?
Yeah, for sure. I think, the concept of just understanding how to paint a picture, right? Visually, like what makes, like what's better. I feel like for a front-end developer, I've always been like functionality driven, versus film made me understand how to be more colorful and how to put things better to be more visually appealing and have a better eye around creativity. Especially being as a founder, you gotta be very, very creative. I think when we got our first couple of airports, we were known in the aviation industry, but I started pushing videos out to understand what we do, but I sold the problem, not the solution. So there's one book called Falling Out the Problem, Not the Solution by Uri Vine that really breaks down like, hey, how you should like understand the problem. So I pushed a video that just talked about the problem, but I placed it with like art and like lighting in the background to have people understand what we do. So the creativity around that, I feel like kind of spread. And then I was on Forbes with this guy right after.
Does actually, it raises a question that I had, which is we were both in the same Forbes 30 under 30 class, right? Does that accomplishment, does being on the 30 under 30 list, it's been a couple years now, is it the same level of importance, the same level of value to you? It's a goal for a lot of people. The way you view that, has it changed with time?
Yeah, well, first I'll say it was never like a goal for me. They just emailed me out the blue. So I never like applied or submitted myself because like for me, I've just been like, I got to make a successful company type guy. But if it's cool, if it's there, it's there. I think marketing wise, it was good because it kind of like, it got me in the door for a lot of things, especially like in the Bay or places like I feel like, or even like New York or, just in different rooms, if you're outside of that ecosystem, people are wondering like, hey, if 10,000 people are applying to an event, I have 100. How am I going to differentiate? Yeah. And I feel like put Forbes 30 to 30, it's going to get you in the room.
It sounds like it did add a lot of credibility.
Yeah, it gives you credibility versus, not everybody's super credible.
On the 30 under 30?
Yeah. Not everybody's super credible. I think it helps. And I wouldn't say my clients are going to buy because I'm, Forbes 30 and 30, but I would say that, just having conversations, understand the ecosystem, get me into doors. Like if I'm like at 90%, maybe Forbes puts me at 100 or 99, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to discuss it. Do you, there obviously Forbes 30 under 30 is gaining a little bit of a reputation. Do you think that there's some validity to it, that maybe that people who would chase something like that are more likely to do unethical things, like specifically that kind of title? Or why do you think it's gaining that reputation? Why do you think it does seem to have a bit of a skew towards, at least visually, a bit of a skew towards unethical behavior?
Yeah, I mean, well, for the first question, everyone just chases like clout. We're in like a clout era to where attention is a new drug.
Yeah.
Right. But the second thing is, I think it's pressure. I think it all relates to pressure. I think people cave under the pressure of I have to have a perfect company, I have to have a good company. Millions have to be coming in right now. It has to be perfect. And I think that pushes people to the dark side. Yeah. Right. I mean, especially like when you're on the list, people see you as like a target to like move money in certain places that are not is illegitimate, right? There's a lot of people that I know that have gotten in contact where like we could use this company and they send you deals. And for me, I feel like I get, I've always gotten like inbound from different people, but like I get a lot of different spam with a lot of people that are illegitimate. They'll reach out and say, oh, we can use him as like this specific project. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, you really can't fall for that. Because they're watching you. They're watching you, they're watching me, they're watching us.
If something happens, this will be in the news.
So it wasn't all positive attention that you got. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't all positive, because majority was positive. People would call you from like they knew you since birth. Yeah. Or they're like, hey, is this your still number? Is this your real number? Or is this still your number, right? It's a great thing. But I mean, at the end of the day, you still have to build a business. It could help you. But I feel like if you cave under pressure, maybe it could hurt you and you'll do something that could change your life. Right? Mm-hmm.
I think there's a decent argument to be made that a lot of the people, it's a list of intentionally and specifically young people with very little experience. I think there's a decent argument to be made that people who haven't experienced a whole lot of real risk are suddenly put in very powerful positions. So you're building a list of people who were young when they became powerful, might not fully understand some of the ramifications of what they're doing. They make a mistake and they let that cascade, and you end up with some of the headlines that we've found.
Yeah, because listen, if you you lie on your financials, by the time they figure out that you better make a lot of revenue to make them up, because the investors will sue you. I told founders that like they're raising, a couple million, and like they try some things. I'm like, no, you can get sued. Yeah, you really can get sued.
You do that and you get caught, and you'll be in some real issues.
So you better like beg and plead your customers because they're the only ones that can save you.
Oh yeah. You find yourself in some deep garbage real fast.
Yeah, real fast, but
I like that part where you mentioned, a lot of people are chasing perfection with their company. and that can actually be, a downside, lead them to the dark side.
Yeah.
What do you think they should be chasing?
Listen, chase the dream, chase success, chase real success. Like every founder, I know I listen to a lot of Travis Kalanick's podcast. Now that he's with A16Z, and he always talks about just like the imperfections, how hard it is. Like Battle for Uber. That book was like a great book. And it just talks about like the highs and lows of being an entrepreneur. And there's nothing perfect. There is no silver bullet. There's no magical solution. But you should really just chase your customers, chase success, chase the $1 billion acquisition if you raise VC capital. If not, you can chase 20 or 30 million and like live a great life, right? Focus on your customers. Don't focus on the media attention. Don't focus on the cloud. That could be blinding, right? Like if you're going to a bunch of conferences and you're going to a bunch of talks and people are celebrating you, look at your financial statement after the talk, right? Call a customer about the product after you get featured on an article, right? To bring you back down to earth.
Watching the bank number go down when you're still building can be really humbling.
Yeah, like why didn't I make such and such amount today? All right, let's go back to the drawing board, right? Yeah, so.
Talk about getting your first customer and what you learned from it.
Yeah, first customer, I'd say first customer for UnDelay in general, paying customer, was this travel company in Spain. So they were servicing different clients, trips, so like trip booking, and a lot of those trip companies were really, really huge in like the 2018, 2019 era. What we did for UnDelay was like saying, hey, we do the flight predictions, regression models. It was hard. I was actually at a Vegas conference. I was on a rooftop and we were like partying with a bunch of startups. And it's funny because one of the startup founders I met, shout out to Adam, because like we met him in pre-seed, now he moved to Atlanta. Founder Ditto, they're doing great things. But I met like maybe 3 or 4 startup founders, and one of our customers was one of them. So like after we were all partying, and like the second day we were like tired, a little hungover, and we're all pitching, right? Yeah. And then he was like, "Oh, you work at the Atlanta airport?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're doing pilots and stuff, and we're building AI for them, like for like Wi-Fi modules and stuff." And he's just like, "Hey, I want some of those features in my system." Yeah. So like we're on a calculator, and he was like, "How much will it cost?" And I'm just like maybe per API, because that's the only way I knew how to charge. As a founder, you don't really know what to charge. So like I'm typing on a calculator, I put a number in, it says 100,000 a year. He's like, that's too much. And I was like, I could barely see my phone, bro. I'm so tired. So I'm just clicking numbers randomly, and one number just adds up to like 15, like 1,000. And then he's like, okay, that's cool. And I'm just like screenshot it, I sent it to him, and shook his head, and then boom, that was like our first like paying client.
That experience obviously did not translate to other clients, right?
No, not at all.
So what was the experience going from like hungover in Vegas after an event to scaling with customers?
Scaling with customers, so like my real clients. The first one was the Tulsa airport, probably for like our major clients. We had like different MOUs from like companies within like Europe or some in the Middle East. But so the Tulsa airport we got in because we knew there's someone I knew in high school actually recommended somebody that was out there that worked with like the government. So after that, we got into certain connections to where we were able to get introduced to the airport. Then we talked to the airport about what we were building for airlines. Yeah. Right? We had a whole presentation about how we were work with Sun Express, work with different travel companies in Western Europe, and we worked with different airlines as well in our experience. But after we gave the presentation, she was honest with me. She was like, hey, none of these solutions will work with us with the airport. Yeah. And I was just like, like my mind just went blank. Yeah. But after that, it was like, we have other issues. So if you want to like try to fix the other issues, and we have around ground chip station or things that we actually own, we talk to the airport, work with that. In my head, I was like, hey, look, if I fix this problem, we can really do what I think is going to scale. Mm-hmm. But then we realized that what we're trying to do is from what we're trying to scale at, operationally, we didn't have the data for it. So we worked on that solution, and from that, we got featured on Fox News, AAA, EACI, all these huge news articles across Europe, Asia, and as well as America about how we work with the airport. Because it's so hard to get a contract with the airport. It's so hard to build something that works, right? So we were able to build something that works for the first airport, and then we were able to scale from 1 airport to 4 airports. Yeah. Hopefully 6 by the end of the year. We'll see what happens.
Maybe going back to even before that first customer, when did you know that you were ready to start pitching people the product? When did you know it was ready? And how many people did you have to pitch before getting that first customer?
Well, how do I know when I was ready to pitch? I think for me, selling in general is just what I do. So whether I'm ready or not, I'm selling, right? Like if I have the idea, I'm selling the idea. If I have the product half built, I'm selling it. If I have the product fully built, I'm selling it. Like Ray Hoffman said, hey, like if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you ship too late, right? So for us, I've always been like a type of person to assemble the plane while I'm falling down. So you always should just be pitching or selling the product, right? Because people buy from an idea. Some people buy from a broken MVP, and some people buy when it's fully finished. Now the airport wants it fully finished, right? So for them, we pitched something that they didn't care about, but essentially we built something that they did. If you say like, hey, I'm a startup founder, I want to build in this industry, what problems do you have? That's enough to start selling, right? You don't need a finished product. You just need a vision and the will and the hunger.
As you started building, you get your first customer, you've raised capital, right?
Yes, yes.
What did that process look like for you? How many times have you raised now?
Yeah. So we have raised. I won't say the number, but we have raised from multiple investors across the country. Raising capital is very difficult. We've lived all across the country and really flown across the world and been in different pitch competitions. And only top 1% of startups ever raised like accelerator capital. And I think like 0.05% raised VC capital. So it's very difficult. That experience, I mean, we really started pitching for our first kind of like early checks after we were making like a little bit of revenue, consistent revenue. The first revenue, I was like, I don't know. But after consistent revenue, or like we knew we're close. Like if we got MOUs or like commitments to, we're like, hey, we're close. Let's do it now to like complete this pilot and then scale. I say for founders, you always want to just have the conversations in general. Raising capital is sometimes resource intensive, right? Because now we're at a stage to where we're flying back and forth from the Bay Area as well as New York. So, you kind of don't want to be spending like $2,000 or $3,000 every time you fly out to someplace. If you're not raising like millions, or if you're not in a stage to where you can feel like you raise millions, it can be expensive, right? Especially for founders outside the huge tech ecosystems. So it's difficult, but the key is like, hey, you want to have dinners and conversations and build relationships with these multiple investors, because once one says, hey, I want to invest, and like all their friends come in, you might spend 5 years building relationships with different people and then, close around within 2 weeks.
Yeah. Looking back on fundraising, are there things, ways, or people that you think you would have approached it differently? Has your perspective evolved on raising your first round?
If I were to do it differently, I would have started going to the Bay much earlier.
Yeah.
I think that usually I would apply to events like online and get rejected because like I'm not known. I do still like apply for events like coldly, but Forbes gets me into the
Oh, it
events,
definitely helps a lot.
It helps a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I used to just apply like to events different in the Bay and not get in. So I was like, I don't want to go because I don't know. But I think after hearing one person's story, I think the woman, she raised like 200 million, and she just went into coffee shops. She went to just a party. She was outside of the events just talking to people, right?
Yeah.
I wish I would have like maybe adopted that mentality in the beginning instead of like just getting rejected at events and just not going at all.
Obviously, it takes a lot to build it. It takes a lot of time and energy. How have you found ways to balance that with living life, having friends, seeing family, stuff like that?
No, it's very difficult. I mean, obviously, when you're going to different like weddings for friends or like family events, marriages, good times, bad times, weddings, funerals, all that stuff, it costs, right? So as a founder, I need to fly to places consistently, whether it's events to fundraise or like getting customer clients, right? Whenever there's like a personal thing, it's like, oh, now I have to stop, or I'm missing this, or you're always like, whether you're making 10,000 a year or like 10 million, sometimes you're always on like the edge of like your business closing down. Yeah. Right, so it's very difficult. I always, treat my closest first. Like, hey, if somebody calls me and says they really need something like right now, I'll always put it down, and then I have to stare the business in the face and say, hey, you could fail because of this, but I can't live a life to where I shut down everybody around me, right? And it is hard.
With the venture capital part of it, just taking again a little step back, you did say that you've raised from VC firms. Is that right?
Yeah. Like we've raised from like multiple different funds across the country.
Now, bringing it back over this way, does that add a layer of stress, knowing that other people's investment that's on your shoulders? or does it create a sense of duty?
Yeah, I mean, personally, like, I don't want to be the company that fails in a portfolio, right? Even though, like, we have been tracking for a long time, some firms will say, like, hey, if they don't return money in 5 to 7 years, like, they're essentially theoretically a failure. But, I mean, even if firms close down, like, you still want to give money back to the LPs, right? So, like, you always want to find a way to, like, pay people back. As a founder, like, hey, if you pitch 100 times, only one person is really probably going to give you some money.
Yeah.
So, like, do you really want to let the 1 in 100 down because and they're the only ones that trust in you, right? Like, it kind of messes with my head that I can't be the failure. So it's pressure personally, but my investors have been great to me. Like, no one has put that pressure on us. Like, I think it depends. Like, if you reach a certain stage to where you're at growth stage where you raise $10 million, somebody's put that pressure on you, right? But now it's personal pressure that we put on ourselves and say, like, hey, let's bring everybody with us. Let's succeed and, like, be that successful investor.
We hear a lot of investors or a lot of influencers in this space, right? Talk about as you get to building, you start dropping things like sleep, eating, working out, mental health, stuff like that. Have you found yourself doing that? And how have you found ways to cope or manage and stay sane with the massive amount of things that go into building?
For sure. Like, I mean, when my phone rings, I get PTSD. So I put it in the other room just to make sure I'm focusing on this podcast, right? But yeah, I mean, it's real. Like, I bought this one thing to cover my head, like gel or like for headaches, like a gel type encasing because I have headaches a lot more. I put more ice in the freezer because like I have headaches. But you'll slowly but surely have to give up bad habits of your health if you want to be a founder to stay alive, right? Like, this one founder told me, and she has a great story. I'm glad I watched her, learn her story, but she was like saying after she had a heart attack, right? And then she couldn't go on and do what she needs to do, but your health will really creep up. Like, there's sometimes where I thought I had health issues just because of the amount of stress that I was like taking in from just constant calls of just like, problems. Like, you have to be able to scale the business while maintaining the business, while maintaining your finances. And your personal finances take a huge hit while you're trying to scale, right? So I think just from that, I think the founders need to find ways to hack to make sure they are healthy, right? Like drinking more water or like replacing things, not eating fried food, because you have to monitor your body. And if you don't, you can have severe health problems.
Have you found new ways or maybe unique ways to manage burnout?
Yeah, I mean, outside of like the ice packs I have for my head, extra ice in my freezer. I think for me, I've been trying like teas as well. Let's go like a new, this to be like hibiscus tea of Kenya, so that hopefully like that helps relax my mind. But yeah, definitely like I was trying to find ways because burnout really comes, obviously when people get tired, when people see like a lack of success. I'll refer Uber one last time, I promise. But when he was like, hey, every check size builds momentum. For us, it's like every time we get paid, even if it's we have a bunch of ways we charge, but even if we get like, I see, okay, $200 or $300 here, or like a couple thousand here, every small check says, okay, we're still alive, right? Even if you have a bunch of expenses and you could die at any moment, once you keep that momentum, or like you see an article written about you, once you keep that momentum, it helps you move on the next day, and it gets you out of that dark place, because a dark place comes to where you're working hard, you're not seeing anything come from it. People are telling you that you're going to fail. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and then you just let your emotions crowd you, and then you shut down.
Do you feel like you have to be a little bit delusional, just that eensy weensy bit to be a founder, a startup?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you do. You have to keep dreaming about the light and like the win, because there's no clear path to it, right? Because people think, oh, like the Uber and the Waze of the world, you just put an app and it just goes, and it's just not how it works. It's always a founder that dreams about success and then tells people follow the dream, and then we will carve out a path as we go. So you have to be delusional to see the path, because everyone else that is very like analytical, that never had a B growing up, they're going to say these are the reasons how we fail. There's no clear path to success, therefore I'm jumping ship. Right, when there's never a clear path to success.
Gotcha. I think that comes back to the perfection thing. Not trying to make it perfect, just moving forward.
Yeah, you just gotta keep moving forward.
Everyone talks about imposter syndrome when it comes to building a startup, but I don't think as many people brought up the fact that, I don't know about you, but I personally have definitely stopped and gone, am I building something or am I having delusions of grandeur?
Yeah, sometimes you're building something, you just look at them like, what am I doing? Like you're just building, but the thing is, you gotta just keep building and selling. The problem with people that they just build too much, and then no one knows what they're doing, and they build something that no one wants. Or some people are selling the dream for like 10 years, but they never hire a builder. But like bring a builder to your team. How about you sell the dream to the customer, but also like sell the dream to a builder, have them join your team, and like go build something. So you gotta have both.
What do you use to maintain motivation? What's the shining star where you're like, I'm building for this?
Retirement. Nah, man, but it's good. Like sometimes I think like, what's going on? Why am I enduring this? But I really want to succeed, problems to be solved. But you have a lot of capital. Imagine what you could do with it. If you're smart enough to build like $1 billion company, right? You could shape the future of just the human race in general, right? Like not to be like a sci-fi thing, but if you create like a new robot, a new software, something like you could change the way people think forever, right? If you have enough capital, you have enough expertise, and if you have the ability to not only be the builder, because we all could be great builders, but if I have the ability to hire great builders, execute with great builders, then like who knows what I could change.
Yeah. So the implication seems to be that you're even thinking beyond UnDelay.
Oh, for
I
sure.
know your focus is here now, but shaping and changing the world and whatnot.
Yeah, I think about that. How much would it take to like change this, or like human population like 8 billion people. So like it's always so many people that you could affect or change or add to. Like who knows what you could accomplish. And UnDelay, hopefully we get huge setting. Whatever happens, I think that if you just focus on the ability to change the masses or like to change a huge part of the industry, you'll find a lot of success.
In finding success and in also being on Forbes 30 under 30, what accomplishment up to this point means the most to you? Is there one accomplishment, one thing that you've done so far that stands out as this was a major goal, or is it all just that's another check on the list and let's keep going?
Yeah, I mean that was another check. We got the Dallas airport, and I think another client, I think post Forbes. So the shipping company we work with and Dallas Love Airport was post Forbes. It was right after, because we got like our notification like in November, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we deployed like end of November, December. So kind of like the same. So that was really but that was gonna happen before Forbes anyway, like regardless of Forbes. Really for us, like every major goal is and will forever be us getting new customers, getting new clients, and those customers liking what we do.
You didn't start in startup. You started building as a mechanical engineer. As you've found yourself drawn into this space and into this ecosystem, are there hypocrisies or backwards things that you didn't expect are different than the way they've been represented?
Yeah, I mean, the degree of difficulty, I know it's gonna be this hard. I feel like when I saw Flappy Bird take off, I'm like, this is time to build an app. There was a time when I was building it, I was like, my payments didn't work, it kept crashing. So I'm like, everything is difficult. Selling is difficult, building is difficult, maintaining is difficult. I was using Backbone as like a framework for JavaScript that by the time I graduated, it was like obsolete, right? So I think it's always been hard to sometimes keep up with the times and do the things that are like so popular and you see it very flashy on TV. So like every part is just extremely difficult. But I did get my degree in mechanical engineering, but I went to software because I realized in college that to do my own thing was too expensive in mechanical engineering, just in the field. In college, I built this program called like Options of the Future, a cool way for like students to understand what they wanted to do, combine different texts and videos to try to get people to understand what they do. So I pitched in front of a lot of middle schools, and they liked the solution. But when I was pitching, I didn't ask for them to sign up. I didn't ask for any money. I just talked about the solution. I spent 30 minutes just talking about software, and I just walked away. Like, so I don't know.
You hadn't built the sales skills yet.
Yeah, I had a lot of energy and I had a technical talent, but I was just building. I wasn't doing anything with it. Like no users, no money, but I just was passionate about building.
Was it hard getting used to asking people for money as you started building? Was that something that felt uncomfortable to you, or was that something that you were just like, all right?
Only when it came to software. Like if I was selling something like simple, like anything that was like very, very simple to sell was easy for me, but software was always difficult in the beginning because I knew how to build it, but I didn't know how people paid money for it outside like games, right? And I couldn't get like the in-app purchases to work for like the Adobe framework I was using. So I thought I was stuck forever because I didn't want to learn Swift at the time because I was a JavaScript guy.
I think even though I'd been selling things as a kid growing up just for fun, starting a startup definitely, it felt weird again asking for people's money. Part of my perspective is that could just be like a Southern thing. It's impolite to talk about money. And you grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah, so up north we talk about money a lot.
That's where I was going. Do you think it might be sort of how you were raised, being very much more comfortable with it? A hump to get over?
Yeah, up north is a hustler mentality. Everybody is selling everything. Somebody tries to sell me pillows on the street. Like, you take that from somebody. Like, bro, people sell socks, pillows. Like Baltimore and Jersey, bro, like everyone's selling something.
Yeah.
I grew up to where like everybody was selling things, like everything, right? I've always had a mentality to sell, but like, software was just, I didn't understand it from a sales because it's just so different. And also like it's not physical. I feel like a lot of sales are emotional, and software is emotional too now that I'm like older and understand that, but I couldn't connect around the emotional software in the beginning, so therefore I wasn't able to sell it, if that makes sense.
You said you had 3 or 4, was it 3 or 4 clients at the moment?
4 airports, 1 shipping company.
How much time are you spending still service those clients versus trying to get in front of eyes and get new clients?
Yeah, like I would say like 99% of our time is trying to get new clients. 1% it might just be like a call or text like, oh, we could try this feature out. But most of the days in the year, we're trying to get new clients because like the software just runs. So there's a huge amount of like changes that need to be up to it. There are sometimes feature requests like from the bigger airports, and those don't take that long to do. But the goal now is just like get new clients, right? Everybody's on the race, and especially with AI and like the ability to have your own intelligence, I'm like, we could do so much. We need to do the best we can.
Do you feel like without AI that you would be spending more time doing work of managing those 4 customers that you already have? Would you need a bigger team?
I think we wouldn't need a bigger team to manage. I'd say maybe 15 or 20 customers for sure. Some customers just want to like have like typical calls. We might email some people every day, but just because customers are using it, pay for it, and are satisfied doesn't mean they don't want just to talk or have general conversations, or sometimes they might ask you similar things for clarification, right? So like hiring a customer success manager maybe after like 10 reports would be very, very important. For me, my role, I would say like I'm starting off as an engineer, but it will always be core sales. So
what has been the most effective channel of sales for you? You know, you have email, you can send text, you can send literally physical mail in person. Yeah. What's worked for you?
Really, in conference meetings. Yeah, like conferences, yeah. They're expensive, man. I'll tell you, it's getting up there. But conference meetings have been like the best, ground transportation conferences. But I'd say a couple of customers just from like articles. I would say a lot of airports have close connections with the like local news articles for publications and like case studies of doing what they do. For that's been a huge. I'd say we've had a lot of that press before Forbes. Forbes I guess like helped out push it to like general population. Right. Yeah, general population. But yeah, I'd say because some customers SEO are just searching like what we do, and then our results popping up from just notoriety. So, but mainly I say like now and going forward, conference.
One thing that I definitely felt after we got funded and had been building for a couple of years after we first got funded and raised a couple more rounds, there's a shift, right? There's a shift in kind of the energy a little bit from the team hustling before you're funded versus the team hustling after you're funded. Have you noticed a similar shift in your team and like what we're doing, what my day-to-day looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like the goals haven't really changed. I mean, when we were like at the top of the funding, I had a little bit more people, mainly like part-time workers. We don't have as much part-time workers now. I think the mentality overall really hasn't changed because the investor money, my team and definitely my team for hopefully the next like 3 to 5 people will be from a startup background. So they understand like money comes and goes, right? But customer revenues, which you should focus on for lifespan of the company. So let's say, you raise and usually rounds, you're supposed to spend money for like 18 months, right? Maybe now it's 2 years because of like, we know that we want to build a company that lasts longer than 2 years. We know that the focus has always been through customers, and when we get into the customer, we're happy if the goal that makes us happy has always been the clients.
Right. The difference there is we had a lot of hard tech that we were developing. Days definitely shifted. It might actually be directly backwards for us. Right? My days were out in the field a lot more and then a lot more in the office after getting funded because we had more people whose job is to be out in the field, and for you probably spend a lot more time developing software and then transitioning to a lot more time being out in front of customers. And
Yeah, because even if like we raise, and hopefully we raise next round, it just depends. I mean, we'll see. Raising, like every founder right now is like seeing what they can do in and out of raising funding. So like there's like so many different avenues of funding that everyone's trying to weigh their options. We mostly will hire for sales, and engineering wise, maybe I get off, maybe I don't. We'll see. I'll probably look at the architecture after. I'll probably start looking at architecture maybe past like 30 or 40 employees. I think Bill Gates stopped after like 20 or 30, so we'll see. Right? I was looking at how people like, what did you do, right? But for sure, like I think, as a founder, you're always going to be the one selling to your investors. You're always going to be the one pitching to your team, making sure like, hey, they see the vision. In terms of your customers, in the early days, they're always going to want a branch to you because they're the ones that kind of funded you in the beginning. Whether we raise or not, or get funding, or get a huge client that pushes us, my role for the next, maybe 20, 30 employees won't change from the sales side. Just being in front of customers. I know people who have like 50 employees, you see them at conferences, like they're still there, shaking hands and kissing babies, right?
Yeah. Clearly, you've made a few references to podcasts, to people, to books. So clearly that's important to you. Do you still seek that out? What do you seek that out for? And what do you see the value of those resources being?
Oh, they're huge. I think Jensen said it best. Like, you want to take pieces from like every entrepreneur and like kind of apply it to something. You can't copy someone's blueprint. Like, you're not that person, and that this time period changes, technology changes. So you can't copy what somebody else does verbatim and then succeed that way. But I just take bits and pieces. Took bits and pieces of different podcasts, different books, different biographies, autobiographies, and say, hey, how can I apply this like section to what I'm doing to help me succeed, experiment, and then I'll see what worked and what didn't.
Is there a single book or a single like piece of media or something that stands out to you above all the others?
The Lean Startup is definitely like my go-to, like in terms of the early stage. But I definitely like Angel by Jason Calacanis. That is a funny book. That's like the funniest startup book. But just if it understand like how like angel investing world, VC capital, the VC world, follow the problem, not the solution. To understand me, like to help me understand just understand the problems versus like just building a solution. Because I think engineers are too build heavy versus like problem focus and being problem specific when solving a problem. Super pumped. Okay, that's it. Super pumped. The Battle for Uber. That is a funny book. Okay. That is a fun book. It's like you're in Uber, like running around. So those are like some of like my favorite books. Yeah.
I heard you mention Jensen. I mean, do you have any other industry leaders that you look up to, CEOs that you've taken inspiration from?
Jensen's probably like the top. I gotta get a leather jacket.
Great brand he's built for himself.
Yeah, but that was probably just the top because it understands a long-term game, like just understand like how Don and Sequoia kind of invested in it and be like, hey, I'm giving you like $2 million. If you lose, I'll kill you, right? Yeah. But like understand like I think they divested like in the later '90s, but just understand like, hey, sometimes you want to make sure people are paid off, and like I guess when you IPO, you could be building something for the next 20 or 30 years to change the world, and people might not see it, right? Like every era has their function. You have the GPU space for gaming, now you have it for AI, right? Yeah. So just seeing how long people survive the peaks and valleys, even though his peaks are different than everyone else, or his valleys are different than everyone else's, right? And his peaks are different as well. Yeah, it's a little tense. But yeah, I think that's a guy I really focus on.
We're drawing to the end, get a little fun here. I've had a burning question the whole time here. As an entrepreneur, okay, and a filmmaker, 20 years from now, are you going to direct your own rise?
Direct my own rise?
Yeah, your own rise?
Oh man,
and who's going to play you? Furthermore.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Somebody with a great smile.
Somebody with a great smile.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I would love to like do like an autobiography and write a book on like how I made it to where I made it. And I definitely want to the main part of just showing entrepreneurs like, hey, this is a hard thing to do. I do not want to sell you a flashy like pamphlet that says, hey, here's how to be a millionaire in 5 seconds. Right? I'm going to tell you this is painfully excruciating. It took me forever. This is how much time, sleep, and health, loss and sacrifice. And then so I did it, and hopefully you could take a part of it and apply it to yourself. But hopefully that's the goal. That'd be cool.
I forgot you got to write the autobiography before you direct your own movie.
Yeah, you got to write the book first. Steve Jobs had Pixar, so like, tech entrepreneurs, we always like film and stuff like that. There's a side thing. You gotta get out. Got to find a way out mentally sometimes.
Oh, yeah. It's a great outlet, and then you get to sit down and be like, I can make this project for fun. Like I don't have to worry about breaking even. Or,
finance around it. I could just build and not have somebody call me around like, why isn't this built?
If this is on fire, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We could burn the project, burn it to that, burn it down.
Well, we're here at the end, so what do you want people to go look at? Where do you want to direct everyone to?
Check out UnDelayApp.com. What we do, case studies, articles, like check us out, just understanding how we build for aviation and how we're building for the small business sector. Like we're trying to really implement really powerful LLMs that are out there just for everyday users. So come check us out, UnDelayApp.com.
And you can find us at Bear Investments on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the beautiful things.